Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Health. We today are going to be talking about unintentional injuries, violence, and leading killers among youth ages, like teenage ages, and just the general population altogether. So we've kind of been talking this week about assertive and aggressive behaviors, passive behaviors, bullying, social media, and we reviewed some of that information yesterday. We're going to kind of switch gears a little bit here and talking a little bit about risk behaviors and how unintentional injuries, which are really accidents, but they are shying away from using the word accident in recent years because most things that occur are done because of careless behaviors or these risk behaviors that teenagers and some adults are taking. Because someone's being careless, an accident happens. So like with a car accident, a lot of times people are being careless, driving too fast, not paying attention to the road, eating, or on their cell phones texting, maybe drinking and driving. So instead of using the word accidents, they're going to the word unintentional injury because the injury could probably be prevented if the careless behavior was avoided or not done. So that is kind of what we're talking about today. So for our warm-up, okay, unintentional injuries are the number one, see that? The number one cause of death for young people aged 10 to 21. So that is your age group. So what used to be called accidents are now unintentional injuries are the number one cause of death for young people aged 10 to 21, and they can be prevented. You're just making a list today. What do you think are the top 3 causes of death for the general population, so people over 21, and the top 3 leading causes of death for people aged 10 to 21? Okay, if you listened and you read this first sentence, unintentional injuries are the number one cause of death for young people, you already know the number one cause of death for people aged 10 to 21. So write down what you think that might be in your notebook. So make two columns and just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 for leading killers for people aged 10 to 21 and people 21 and over. Leading killers, so leading causes of death. So you can just kind of make a list like this for people 10 to leading killers. For people 10 to 21, you should already know what number 1 is, and then 21 and over and what that looks like. Okay, so do that now. Pause the video if you need to because I'm about to give you the answers. Well, not for all of them, but at least for the 10 to 21. Dun, dun, dun. The 3 leading causes of death among 10 to 21-year-olds. Number 1 is unintentional injuries. Number 2 is homicide. And number 3 is suicide. If you don't know what homicide is, that is murder. Okay, so these are all things that are happening because of aggressive behaviors, because of risk behaviors, sometimes because of bullying, sometimes because of online things that are going on. So this is kind of how that ties back to what we've been talking about. We need to be very diligent and very careful with our actions, with what we're doing, with how we're treating others, with how we're feeling about ourselves. So those are some things to think about as we go through our lesson today. Okay, moving into our notes. Okay, an unintentional injury is an injury that is not planned. Like I said, it used to be called an accident, but they are kind of moving away from that term because you're not meaning for this injury to happen. You don't want this injury to happen, but it's something that happens anyway because you are being careless, okay? So it might be you're out on a skateboard and you're like, ooh, I can jump up on this rail and go down it. That might be a careless behavior, especially if you've never done it before and you're not very good on the skateboard. You might get injured. That would be an unintentional injury, okay, because you're being careless. Also, injuries might occur because you think, oh, I can walk out on this ice and it's not going to be slippery, and you slip and fall, right? So you're being careless, you're going somewhere where you know it's slippery, where you know you could slip and fall, and you slip and fall. So it's not intentional. It's not something that you meant to have happen. It's not planned. You don't want an injury to occur, but you're not thinking through it totally, and you get hurt. Okay, so it happens a lot in the gym, running through the locker room, maybe in just your socks, you slip and fall, or you are trying to like run away from someone and you run into a wall or to a locker or to a bench. Okay, you're not meaning to hurt yourself, but you do because you are not thinking it through. You're not thinking clearly, and that is a huge problem for 10 to 21-year-olds. Not just because of where you're at in life, like maturity-wise, but like your brain hasn't fully developed to help you think through all of the consequences and what could happen if I do this, this could happen. So you're still developing those skills, and that is a huge reason why unintentional injuries is a number one killer, the number one killer of kids your age. Okay, that goes back to car accidents, not buckling up, texting and driving, eating and driving, drinking and driving, not paying attention. Okay, so that all goes into unintentional injuries. Okay, as well as doing any of those silly YouTube challenges that can lead to death. Okay, those are all risk behaviors that you're not planning for there to be an injury at the end. You're just not thinking through the consequences, and it can be big, or it can be something small, like you're outside playing with your friends and you are like, hey, throw me the ball, and you turn around to catch the ball and you like face plant into a tree or into a stop sign or something. So just being aware of your surroundings and knowing what you're doing and where you're doing, thinking through the consequences of each decision and each action will help avoid some of those things. Okay. Obviously, homicide and suicide, the number 2 and 3 leading cause of death for people your age, are quite violent. So suicide being violence against oneself, homicide obviously being violence against someone else. So this is the definition for violence. Violence is the use of force to injure, damage, or destroy oneself, others, or property. So it can cause injury, it can cause damage to property or to a person. It can completely destroy yourself, other people, or property. And that is considered violence. So that's the definition of violence. Okay. In order to avoid violence and unintentional injuries, positive lifestyle choices need to be made. So positive lifestyle choices can reduce your risk of being involved in an unintentional injury or act of violence. So what would you consider to be a positive lifestyle choice? When you're thinking about lifestyle choices, positive lifestyle choices, right? So we talked about this a little bit earlier in the year when we talked about setting goals. Like you looked at your health overall and you're like, okay, where am I low and where am I not making positive lifestyle choices? So positive lifestyle choices might include eating healthier, might include going to bed earlier, might include studying for your test. Those are all positive lifestyle choices. Those are all going to help you become or be more healthy, okay? So the same goes when you're making choices when you're hanging out with your friends. So this will affect social health. A positive lifestyle choice is like, hey, me and my friends are going to go to a movie. We're going to tell my parents where we're going. We're going to go where we said we're going to go. We're going to stay together. Those are all positive lifestyle choices. Okay? Instead of saying, hey, we're going to tell my parents we're going to a movie. We're going to meet up with some people from a different school. We're going to go to a party where my parents have no idea where I'm going. And I might even ditch the friends that I came with to go hang out with other people. Those are not positive lifestyle choices. That is you putting yourself in harm's way to get injured, to have an unintentional injury happen, or to have some kind of violence done against you. Or you go out and do some kind of violence that maybe you weren't planning on doing, but you might be in a wrong situation with the wrong people and get into some trouble. So when you're thinking about positive lifestyle choices, it's not just about, oh, I'm going to eat healthier. That's a positive lifestyle choice. It's also about your social interactions with other people. Okay? Positive lifestyle choices, like instead of choosing to be aggressive or angry when I speak with people, I can choose to be assertive and stay calm and keep myself under control to avoid a violent situation, to avoid other violence that could occur. So those are huge for 10 to 21-year-olds in keeping yourself safe, keeping yourself alive. It's the #1 cause of death is unintentional injuries and violence. That's 1 through 3. Okay? Those positive lifestyle choices in your social situations are going to keep you out of that problem. Okay? So choices that reduce your risk of being involved in unintentional injuries or an act of violence. All right, we're going to talk now about the leading causes of death for people older than 21. Yeah, there we go. Heart disease. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death for the general population, people older than 21. So when you did this list, your list of 21 and over, heart disease is the #1 cause of death of general population. It's a disorder that affects the heart's ability to function normally. So this is a picture of your heart right here. Okay, and when you have heart disease, what happens is this is cholesterol, this buildup of fatty tissue right here, and you will start to get that fatty tissue buildup inside your arteries and inside your veins when you're eating unhealthy foods, when you're not exercising. Stress can also lead to a buildup of and blockages in your arteries and veins. Okay, so those positive lifestyle choices, like not choosing to eat well, not choosing to exercise, really come up to affect you as you get older, 21 and older. Heart disease, #1, completely avoidable if you are eating healthy, exercising. I guess not completely avoidable, but like 90% avoidable if you're doing the right things. There's some genetic and hereditary factors that play into that. So sometimes people can have heart disease without the unhealthy eating. They can eat healthy and they can exercise, they still might have heart disease. So their arteries clog up, and then it will either completely block off, which can lead to a heart attack. So if this completely gets completely blocked in, like if that comes up all the way to the top, the blood can no longer flow to the heart. So it would be blocking off one of these, and the blood is no longer flowing to a part of the heart, which causes it to start to die, and then that will lead to a heart attack. It can also lead to a rupture in that vein or artery, which would lead to also different types of heart attacks and other types of artery diseases. So that is heart disease and heart attacks. All right, #2 is cancer. It's the second leading cause of death of the general population, a disease in which abnormal cells grow in an uncontrolled manner. Cancer can come out of nowhere. It's not always something that people can avoid. There are some positive lifestyle choices that people can make to help avoid cancer, like not smoking and putting on sunscreen would help avoid with skin cancer. Not smoking helps avoid lung cancer, throat cancers. There are definitely things that you can do to help avoid the onset of cancer, but you can't make it not happen. Cancer is one of those diseases that might just come in. Just put it down. Never mind. So #3 is stroke. Stroke is the third cause of death for the general population, and it's a condition caused by an interruption of blood flow to any part of the brain. Okay, so in this, it's the same situation as what's going on in the heart. So you have the blood flow going down through the artery right here. As the blockages start to come in, you can see it starts to narrow down the artery walls and more until it's completely blocked off. When it's completely blocked off, when it's going to the brain, that leads to a stroke. Okay, so it's the same thing that would happen when it's going to the heart, but it just doesn't allow the blood flow to go where it's needing to go through here, and it causes it to kind of back up. And when that happens, it's not bringing the oxygen that it needs to the brain, and that is when a stroke happens. Okay, our wrap up. Why do you think unintentional injuries are the leading cause of death among youth? I answered that for you already. How big of a role do behaviors and choices play in our health? So we've just been talking about how those positive behavior choices play in not just our own health for leading causes of death for 10 to 21-year-olds, but also leading causes of death for people older than 21. How can unintentional injuries be prevented? Okay, so understand with a stroke and these arteries getting clogged, they're getting clogged with cholesterol and like unhealthy foods and lack of exercise and stress, high levels of stress are causing these arteries to get blocked. That's what's doing it. So strokes and heart attacks can definitely be prevented by making positive lifestyle choices of exercising and eating healthy and reducing stress levels. Okay, last thing, you have an assignment on Google Docs today. It has some stats on here. So you'll read through these stats, and then there are four, this one only has three, but there are four conclusion questions. You're answering all of the questions together in one large paragraph. So don't individually answer each question. You're going to write a paragraph or more. You can write more than one paragraph, answering all of the questions inside the paragraph. So the Google Doc will explain that to you also, but I just wanted to make sure you understand you're not writing one simple sentence at the end of each question. You are writing a paragraph answering all of the questions together. All right, guys, have a great day.